That car you're not using anymore could help fund audiobooks, Braille, and accessible library services across Washington. Donate it to the Washington Talking Book and Braille Library. Pickup is free. Go to careasy.org/WTBBL.
Hello and welcome to Literary Notes, a podcast by the Washington Talking Book and Braille Library. I'm your producer, Nathan Ureta. What would you do if you were offered a fresh start to your life at a spry 63 years young? That's what happened with Miss Mebel, our hero in the new novel, Miss Mebel Goes Back to the Chopping Block. When her wealthy husband of 40 years leaves her for their private chef, she enrolls in culinary school to win him back. The author, novelist Jesse Q. Sutanto, drops by our studios to talk with library volunteer Ren Caldwell about this story, along with the life experiences that inspired it, from living with ADHD to her upbringing as a potential trophy wife. Here's their conversation.
Welcome. I'm here with Jesse Q. Sutanto, who is here talking about her book, Ms. Mebel Goes Back to the Chopping Block. My name is Ren Caldwell. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm an audiobook narrator at the Washington Talking Book and Braille Library. I also just started doing some audiobook reviewing, so that's kind of a new fun thing. But Jesse, do you want to tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me here. This is so exciting. And Ren is already so cool that I'm kind of intimidated. I'm not actually, I'm just not going to look at you. So I can focus. What was the question? Sorry, I have ADHD.
You?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm an author, and right now I am living in Jakarta with my husband and my two daughters, who are adorable. The internet agrees, by the way, so it's not just me saying that.
Perfect. How old are they?
They're 10 and 7. Really like super cute ages. I don't really have much of a life, so then it ends up being like me writing 3 books a year, because also I'm driven by caffeine and Asian guilt. So I have to be like super productive all the time.
Perfect. Perfect. No, I love that. Since you already mentioned it, one of my questions did have to do with ADHD. I'm also ADHD.
Yay.
And I've found for me that it's a very particular kind of brand of crazy, where you're very productive in a lot of ways, but it's also can be like kind of challenging to like follow through and complete projects. So I was curious, what's the best thing about your experience as a person like living with ADHD, and like what's the most difficult thing? Like what do you like the most about the way you operate and how you are?
So I had a very bad understanding of ADHD up until I think maybe 2 years ago. I always thought it was, that stereotypical jumping off the walls kind of thing. And it wasn't until 2 years ago that my best friend, who's actually a psychologist, kind of educated me on that. And then I went and got a test done and was diagnosed. And it felt so affirming because then I was like, oh my gosh, that's why I'm like this, or I do that, or, my thoughts are like this. And so I feel like my favorite part actually is probably the same as my least favorite part, which is like the nonstop like chatter going on in my head all the time. And it gets very exhausting sometimes. But it's also how I find like ideas for my books. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to get rid of that because, it's such a huge part of me. But yeah, it's just been really, really affirming to get those test results back.
Absolutely. I think one of the things I felt for the longest time was I just kind of felt like an alien. Like I was like, no one around me seems to think this way or have this type of energy. And just understanding that I was part of a group of people that felt this way just made me feel a lot less alone, I guess.
Yeah.
But I definitely resonate with that kind of like ideas ping-ponging off of the inside of your skull like all the time.
Yes.
I'm curious, for this book, the characters themselves are super colorful, especially the character of Mebel. And I was wondering, where did the inspiration for this particular book arise, and specifically the inspiration for this character?
So this book is kind of like an attack on my culture. So I'm Chinese Indonesian. My grandparents immigrated from China to Indonesia. And we were raised by like what they remembered of China. So it's like 1940s China, you know? And so it was the patriarchy, very, very traditional. And me and my cousins were all raised to be trophy wives. Like literally, we were raised to be trophy wives. We had to look a certain way, and like we had to be well educated, but not too educated. Like one of my cousins went on to do a PhD in biochem at the University of Chicago, and my parents were like, that poor girl, she's never going to get married, because what man is going to want a woman who is more educated than him? Nobody wants that. Like, don't be too smart, okay? But be smart-ish. And so it was like, it really, I think, messed me up. Surprise, surprise.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Especially like with ADHD, I think we have a tough time like following rules, and you know, like I just wanted to rebel a lot of the times, and it was also very confusing because I remember my mom told me like your future career depends on what your husband's career is. So if he's a lawyer, you should be a paralegal. If he's a doctor, you should be his nurse, you know, and I was like, well, but how would I know? Like, what if I go to nursing school and then I marry a lawyer?
All bets are off.
Yeah. And she was like, yeah, you know, like, don't be so silly. Of course, if you go to nursing school, you need to marry a doctor. Like, duh, you know. And so, so I wanted to kind of take a very critical look at this upbringing and this society. And so that comes out in the character of Mebel, who is a trophy wife. And also kind of like, I hope that this is like a lesson for, you know, I hate the trad wife movement. So like for the women who are like, you know, oh, you know, I want to be like a wife, basically. You know, and what happens when you hit your 60s and your husband no longer, you know, finds you as enchanting as when you first met? Sorry, that was such a long rant.
No, I really appreciate it. Well, and it was one of my biggest questions was just how much of this is our thing, how much of the narrative in the story is your narrative, is coming from your own experience. And it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
And like your own struggles against this kind of patriarchal society. No, it's incredibly difficult, I think, when you're raised in any kind of culture that has a very specific idea of who you are and what you should be, especially as someone with ADHD, because we question everything. Like that's sort of what our brain does.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And it makes it is very difficult to not rebel, I guess.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times there's punishments for that.
Yeah.
So how do you, I'm just super curious because of the first part of your story, being raised to be a trophy wife. How did you end up where you are now? Because obviously you didn't follow that path.
I think probably, well, for the longest time, I did try to follow that route. Yes. And then I went to Berkeley and I took women's studies.
Let's go.
Oh my God. And then I was just angry all the time. Like, I like the amount of rage I felt, because it was like an awakening, like realizing everything, even my hair, was controlled by the patriarchy. And I remember I had a boyfriend at the time, and I would like criticize every single movie we watched. Like The Incredibles came out, and we watched it, and I was like, I hate it. Why is the dad's superpower like being big and strong, and then the mom's superpower is being flexible? Like, and I was like, come on, that's not empowering. And I also felt like, and then the kids, like the little boy's superpower is like being super fast. Like it's a very active superpower. And then the sister,
girl is invisible.
Yeah, she turns invisible. And then she found another superpower, which was like protective, So it's like, oh, the women's role is to just like protect the family by like changing their bodies. And, I just felt like it was really problematic. And my then boyfriend was like, oh my God, I just want to enjoy like just one movie.
You're like, no,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the patriarchy.
Yeah. So I would say, so I ended up minoring in women's studies, and it was a life changer, So yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
That's amazing, and I resonate with that. Just my college experience was kind of similar. I grew up in Florida, which is very kind of conservative.
Yeah.
And I felt like an alien, and then went to school out of state and was like, like there's other ways of looking at the world, and there's people that don't automatically see me a certain way, and it gave me agency to think of myself a different way. And it sounds like that's a lot of what happened with you. Is you were like, wait a minute,
Yes.
this is garbage. I love that. Well, so in terms of what you would love, because that was one thing I had written down to ask, was about the societal expectations that Mebel struggles with, and then eventually kind of comes to a very different like viewpoint. What would you like people to take away from this in terms of like how to engage with societal expectations or cultural expectations that they might be dealing with? Like, what questions would you like people to be asking of like their own place in society? And,
I would love for people to ask, especially women, to ask, is there more? Because I think it's like, it's a positive question to ask. And then once you actually start to think about it, there is more. There is always more. And you don't have to kind of live within the confines of your upbringing. And I also want people to know that you're never too old to change things up. Because I just get like these videos on social media, where you have like 75-year-old grannies who are like, oh, she just started strength training. Of course, then, my toxic trait, I'm like, oh, okay, I can wait until I'm 75.
I've got time.
Yeah. But they're so inspiring. So I just love that.
No, that's really great. Do you have anybody in your personal life that you feel like you look up to, like an elder that you feel like has gone that way and is sort of exploring new things at an older time? Like, is that something that is present in your life, or is that something that you're aspiring to be?
Yeah, I think I'm aspiring to be that. It is very difficult, I think, for the older generation because they were raised with much fewer choices. I love my parents very much, and I'm really close with my mom. So like I don't blame her at all, for raising me to be a trophy wife, because it's like how you survive as a woman, right?
Yeah.
And it's only kind of my generation that was fortunate enough to be sent abroad to study. So we are very lucky in that sense. So then I hope that my generation breaks the cycle. And they are starting to. More people in my generation are choosing to divorce, from unhealthy marriages, which is like just unheard of for my parents' generation. So they're always very scandalous. But to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, what an amazing example you guys are leading. And that really moves me.
That's really great. Yeah, one of the things I really enjoyed in this book was seeing Mabel kind of come to terms with, being so afraid of what her friends would think and so afraid of the scandal. And then kind of towards the end anyway, not to give anything away, but towards the end kind of realize that maybe people would actually be more accepting than she thought that they would if she was honest about things and if she actually expressed how she felt for once, you know. And so I thought that was a really like a hopeful look at how things could come out differently, maybe with different intention. So I really love that. And then I was curious, you've said that you live in several different places. You consider several different countries and places your home. How important is travel to you?
Oh, it's so important. One good thing about the Chinese Indo community is that we love to travel. So any chance we get, we're like, okay, bye, we're out of here. So I think like now I'm traveling 5 or 6 times a year. So I'm super lucky. And I grew up in Singapore, where people also traveled a lot. And living in Southeast Asia, we're kind of just like a stone's throw away from so many cool places, like Thailand, Malaysia. So yeah, just very, very blessed.
No, that's amazing. And then how about your kids and your family? Like, are they coming with you on some of these adventures? Like, how do you feel like your daughters might be getting a different view of life than the one that you were given growing up?
Oh, yeah, I went like the other extreme with my girls. Yeah, I mean, I'm so like, I'm like, don't be a feminist because feminists believe in equal rights, but do men deserve rights? Jury's still out.
When we
Okay.
say equal rights, what are we really talking about here?
Yeah. So hopefully we are raising them very differently. That's actually something that I think a lot of people are surprised about, especially with like Asian cultures. So, for example, one of my friends, she's Singaporean, and she took her daughter to see the Barbie movie when it first came out. And her daughter was, I think, maybe 9 years old. And when they came out, her daughter was so confused. She was like, I don't understand, like, why was the world like that, like that men are in control? And she completely did not understand that, most of the world is like that because her mom is the CEO of like several companies. And she goes to a top girls' school in Singapore where these girls, go on to be surgeons and pilots and whatever. And so she did not understand that, out there in the world, things are bleak.
Yeah.
And her mom was like, oh, I wanted to shield her a little bit longer before I exposed her to that. I didn't realize that the Barbie movie was, going to be about that. But, okay, now the cat's out of the bag.
Now we have to talk about the patriarchy.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I think me and most of my friends, we are raising our girls and boys differently. Sorry, I think you asked about travel.
No, I was just curious how much they came along with you,
Yeah.
and if that was part of raising them differently, was
Yeah.
showing them different, countries and the way things are in different parts of the world.
Yeah. They do travel a lot with
That's
us.
great. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember my first time on a plane I was a senior in high school, and it's a it's a very different thing. My first kid was on a plane when he was 3 months old, so it's just like, yeah, I think this generation in general travel more, and so I think kids have much more exposure much earlier to the fact that like things are different in different parts of the country and the world, and I think that's great. It's much less kind of a monolithic experience of like being in the same town your whole life.
Yes.
But I love that. And then I'm curious, cooking is like a huge part of this book. Like, do you love to cook? Have you had any like formal training as a cook? And if not, then like what kind of research did you need to do in order to feel like you could sort of express the cooking school portion of this?
So I love cooking. When during senior year at Berkeley, I had a panic attack because I was like, oh my God, I'm graduating soon and I have no idea what I want to do with my life. And so I was like, oh, I know, I'll go back to school. And I kind of narrowed it down to 2 options, which was creative writing or culinary school. And then I had a phone call with my cousin. And she said, no, you have to go to creative writing school because I'm going to culinary school.
There can only be one.
Yeah. I don't know why we couldn't both go, but like at the time I was like, oh my God, you are so right. Yes, I will go to creative writing school.
Perfect. Well, it seems like it's worked out for you.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
I have her to thank. But so then when I realized I was going to set a book at culinary school, I called her up and I was like, look, I didn't go because of you.
You owe me.
You owe me. Like, dig up all your notebooks, send them to me. And she did. She gave me so much information that I feel like you wouldn't know unless you did go to culinary school. Like one of her stories is that while she was there, she always carried around like 1 cigarette with her because like the kitchen gets hot and noisy and it's overwhelming after a while. But the only time you can get a break is smoke break. And she doesn't smoke, so she just had the same cigarette the whole time. She'd be like, smoke break. And then she'll just go outside and stand in the alleyway and like, zone
Breathe.
out. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that story. That's amazing. But it's great that you had somebody close to you that you could really dig into and get all of that information.
Yeah.
It's really funny that you could have gone to the to the same school and did not. I love it. Cool. And then I'm curious too. I'm also like a filmmaker and make my own.
Oh my God, you
stuff.
do everything.
Well, it's sort of this whole genre of acting / storytelling, you know?
That's so cool.
It's really fun. But I also tell stories kind of in different genres. And I know that you do thrillers and then you kind of doing more comedic things. Like what is it about? Well, I guess I should ask this more specific question. Like, where do you write and like how do your days unfold? And is it different depending on what type of fiction you're writing? Like, do you write a thriller in a different way or in a different place with a different energy than you write a book like Ms. Mebel?
I think most of the time it's the same way. So because of my ADHD and the continuous voices in my head, I learned to, because some of these voices are really mean. Like I'd be writing and they're like, oh no, that is so bad. Like
really judgmental voices.
Yes,
and you're like, hey, you're me. Stop it.
Yeah. And so I learned to speed write using timers. So I would set a 15-minute timer. And during that time, I am not allowed to delete anything I write or edit. I can only write. So I'm like kind of outrunning the voices. So that's how I write all of my books, using the 15-minute timers. And I aim for 2,000 words a day. So, and I aim to get it done before lunchtime. And, I think because ADHD brains work really well under pressure.
Yes.
And so like if I'm feeling really unmotivated, I'll call up a friend and be like, do you want to meet up for lunch? So then I know like that's a hard out.
I'm going to be done by lunch. Yeah.
Yes. So I do that. Get to 2,000 words a day. After 4 weeks, I will be at 40,000 words, which is halfway through the novel. And then I check myself into this amazing luxury hotel in Jakarta. And in Jakarta, things are really cheap. So, because like one of my friends in New York City, she was like, girl, how much is that costing you? Like $5,000 a night? I was like, no, what? Like, no, it's like more like $250 a night, and you get like the most amazing room. Comes with a 24/7 butler.
Oh, nice.
Like free lattes and cookies. You just WhatsApp the butler and be like, can I have more cookies, please?
Love it.
So I stay there for 3 days and 3 nights. And I finished the second half of the book there. And it is the most magical experience.
That's amazing. Like I love, and I think that is something I really resonate with. As someone else who has ADHD, is these kind of systems that you set up for yourself to help you hyper-focus, because hyper-focusing is the only way we get anything done.
Yes.
And so having these things and being like, okay, if I get all this done, I get to go to my hotel and I get to have my lattes and cookies and I can like just finish this whole thing. I love that idea. That feels like a very productive and like, I don't know, a concise way of doing things. But when do you get to the editing part? Like, do you do any editing of those original things, or do you have your editor take things in this really raw form and then deal with them?
No, that would be like a hate crime.
I was wondering. I was like, that seems like a lot.
Yeah. So this is where, maybe this is one of my least favorite parts of ADHD. We lose interest very quickly.
Motivation.
So once the book is done, I don't want to look at it. I just don't want to have anything to do, with it. And I have to kind of force myself to read it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so bored. Like, I know what's going to happen,
The fun part's done.
Yeah. But I force myself to read it. I take notes, and then I edit. I can only stomach the one round of editing before I send it off to my agent, and then she reads, and she gives me notes, and then I edit it again. Then we send it off to my editor.
Is it easier to edit it with someone else's notes?
Oh, yeah. Because they catch things that, you don't,
And then you don't have to force yourself to sit down. You're just like, well, I have these notes. So,
yeah.
Have you ever set a timer for editing?
No, because with editing, I need to go back and forth within the manuscript. And then it just gets too confusing. And my mind is already so chaotic, so, and then the process is very chaotic. So I'm like, okay, no, this one, I can't speed through it.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. I was thinking at least you could put a bookend on it. Be like, okay, I'm going to do it half an hour.
Yeah.
And then I will stop editing and take a walk or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. We always have to find little tricks for ourselves. Well, then I'm curious. One of the things, I'd love to get back to Mebel a little bit because she's just such a fascinating character. But one of the things I was really interested in is there's a lot of intergenerational relationships in the book, I mean, especially with Mebel and the other cooking school folks, especially Gemma. Gemma? Is that how you say her name? And I'm curious what kinds of relationships you have in your own life that, if any of these are based on any of those. and what you think the importance of these intergenerational relationships is.
So I would say the biggest influence is my relationship with my mom. Because it's so it keeps evolving, which I didn't realize. I thought relationships kind of like remain static, but as I get older, that's not the case. So when my publishing career took off, then I was able to kind of have long talks with my mom about like, oh, see, mom, like, actually, isn't this so much better than being a trophy wife? Because like, I get to see you whenever I want, like I get to do things without having to ask my husband for permission, and I was like, why find a rich man when I can be the rich man? And then she does actually like ponder these things, and then she's like, yeah, that does sound better. So she's actually able to change her mind, which I think is so huge. Like especially as like she's in her 70s, and I find like the older you get, the harder it is to change your mind. And then I see her kind of catching herself when she's talking to my girls about like, oh, don't do that because, boys won't like it, and then she's like, no, never mind.
And you're like, yes.
Yeah. So like, I really appreciate it. She's really trying.
Yeah. And I think, that's one thing about relationships that I really value is it's the opportunity to see yourself in a different way because you're actually interested in who someone else is. And so it does cause these questions to come up, and this like, well, wait a second, like just because this is the way I was raised doesn't mean that this is the way that it has to be. And like, how might my life have been different if I had been able to choose something else? And I think that's one of the hardest things about having relationships with older parents is seeing them sometimes have a lot of regret. And think that could have been me and I didn't realize. And I think that's one thing that I really enjoyed about Mebel was just being able to see her whole arc, and where she ends is a lot different than where she begins, and that's a very hopeful story. So I love it so much. It was so much fun to read.
Thank you.
Well, I would love to know what are you reading right now? And I don't know if you engage with any visual media or movies or anything like that. Like, what's kind of lighting you up in the moment?
So the last book I finished that I really enjoyed is called Matchmaking for Psychopaths. It's so dark and funny.
Sounds amazing.
Like, I did not see, the twists and turns coming. Is it weird to describe something about, a book called Matchmaking for Psychopaths as cute? Because it was very cute.
No, I can see it.
So yeah, I would recommend that. Wait, what was the other question?
Oh, I was just wondering if you'd seen any movies or like if there was any other. I've been obsessed with Heated Rivalry lately, so I was just curious if there was any media that you were psyched about.
Right now, I'm watching Love is Blind France.
Oh, okay.
So unfortunately, nothing, too deep or anything. It's just like, okay, I'm gonna veg out.
No, for sure. And I think that's it. The role of media is so important for that as much as for being stimulating and making you think about stuff. It's just like, no, let's take a little break. Yeah, the world is a lot right now. So.
Yes.
Well, what's next for you? Like professionally and personally, and like what are you looking forward to like putting energy towards in the future?
So more books for sure.
Awesome.
More older women just kind of kicking ass. They're such a joy to write. So definitely more of that. And then, of course, because of my ADHD, I need to constantly be trying new genres. So I have a fantasy novel coming out later this year.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I'm very excited / scared. Both feelings. And I recently finished a horror novel, so I need to get that in shape before we can send it out. Yeah, so just a lot of like really exciting things, which I'm kind of also making myself do because I want to keep like going out of my comfort zone. Because I also feel like as you get older, your comfort zone becomes smaller and smaller. So this is my way of like, okay, no, you can't just stagnate. You know, you need to keep challenging yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the motivation piece of ADHD is so real. And if you get bored, then you stop writing, and we can't have that. You're amazing. So you need to keep writing.
Thank you.
Of course. No, that's great. And you're going to Third Place Books tonight, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. I love Third Place Books. I was just there for an author reading like last month, I think.
Oh,
have you been there?
No.
Oh, it's great. It's a
wait.
really lovely space, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of cool people to talk to.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. Well, we'll let you know. We'll let people know where they can find your book and more info about you in the comments of the podcast. But is there any like one like resource or entity or website or something that you would like people to engage with after listening to this conversation? Like, where do you want people to look for you and find you?
Oh, I'm always on Instagram, probably a very unhealthy amount.
Unhealthy amount of Instagram.
Yes. So that is where people will always find me. And I just love getting messages from people. Like some of them make me laugh and some of them make me cry. But yeah, it's always a joy.
That's great. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of good, healthy like interaction with people who are who love your stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of inspiration that comes from that also.
Yeah. It's just so affirming. I think like the best thing you can say to an author is, "Oh, you made me feel seen." Then I'm like, "Oh,
you're like, oh my God." Have you been getting comments from older women around this book? Yeah, like is that a demographic that you feel like you're reaching?
Yeah. I definitely am. They'll reach out and say, 60 is not old.
Oh, there you go.
And I'm like, I know it's not old. It's just that in many Asian cultures, because age is a hierarchy, so people like to act like 60 is old. You know, they're like, oh, I'm 60, I'm almost dead. You know, you have to treat me well. That kind of thing.
So to some extent, it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. But that's I understand as someone who just turned 50, I understand know that like I'm not old.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I did resonate a lot with Mabel and a lot of these things, and especially with just the desire to try something new and do something new, which is something I feel like you also really appreciate.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been amazing. And yes, this is Jesse Q. Sutanto and her book, Ms. Mebel Goes Back to the Chopping Block. Cannot wait to see what you do next. I'm especially interested in the horror novel. I'm horror and fantasy. Let's go, new genres.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Yay.
Miss Mebel Goes Back to the Chopping Block is not currently in the catalog of the Washington Talking Book and Braille Library, but we'll let you know in a later episode if that ever changes. In the meantime, you can find some of Jesse Q. Sutanto's other works in our catalog by searching for her name, Jesse Q Sutanto. Those will be ready for download as audiobooks. If you have any questions or comments about the library, or to see if you qualify for our services, visit WTBBL.org or leave us a voicemail at 206-615-0400 or toll free at 800-542-0866. This episode of Literary Notes is a production of the Washington Talking Book and Braille Library based in Seattle, Washington. I'm your producer, Nathan Ureta. Thanks for listening. The Washington Talking Book and Braille Library provides audiobooks, Braille, and reading support for people across the state who can't read standard print. That car, truck, or boat you're not using anymore could help fund those services. Donate your vehicle today. Pickup is free, running or not. Start now at careasy.org/WTBBL.